Hey guys, welcome back to my channel where I make content about buying and selling Pokemon cards. Now notice I say Pokemon cards and not trading cards. And that's kind of what I'm going to talk about a little bit about in this video. And I'm also going to show you guys some numbers that I have sale report from the sales that I've made on TCGPlayer for the month of April. So we're going to get into that as well. It's going to be a shorter video since I do have a lot going on. I have my dogs over as well. So on top of everything, I have to take care of dogs and they are high maintenance. Anyways, so why do I only sell Pokemon cards? Well, I think that it's the best use of my time. And there are a couple of reasons. I think it's the best use of my time. It's the most that I know of. Not that I don't know how to list Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I would know how to do something like that. And I think it's best strategy overall. But obviously, I know a lot of sellers sell more than just one thing, and I do understand and hear perspectives of why that would be more beneficial, but just this is all in my viewpoint. So the reason I do it is because I think I'm trying to make it most convenient as possible for a buyer to come into my store, buy whatever they need. If they want to create their whole deck, they can do so. Even with right now with over 30,000 cards, over 32,000 cards. I'm really grinding it away. Over 32,000 cards. I still have some cards. I don't have any of some cards, right? So I'm trying to list as many as possible, more than 100,000. I'm trying to get to 100,000. That's kind of my goal for May of May to list at least 30,000 more cards, so that I can have at least 60,000 cards. And that's my first thing. I'm trying to have it most convenient. It's the second thing is it's what I know the most of. I don't know about other TCGs that well, but in Pokemon, even then, when you know about it, it still can be tricky because when you take deck exclusives, it looks very exactly like. There's no telling besides whether it's hollow or not. So sometimes I'm trying to list cards really fast and don't pay attention to that I'm listing it as a hollow when it's supposed to be a deck exclusive. Anyways, so there's more chances to mess up if you don't know exactly what's going on in that set. So a little bit of that. And my overall plan is to try to list as many cards as I can and try to be convenient as possible. So if I do that for other TCGs, I would then create a lot more for my goal. I would need to list a lot of those. So that's a little bit about why I list for Pokemon only. But again, I know most sellers list variety, so nothing wrong with that, and there's good arguments for it. Now I'm gonna get into the sale numbers of April for selling on TCGPlayer for me on April, and I was going to go over like everything that I've spent on and bought. Spent, bought the same thing, but everything I spent on, right? But I decided not to do that because some of those lots I haven't even listed that I bought. Some of those cards haven't even sold. It is really hard, in my personal opinion, to make it so that you're doing profit and loss of what you're buying, because it could sell at different times, right? And everything that you bought would have to sell at that time for it to be accurate. So I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to give you guys some numbers that TCGPlayer calculated for me. I think they're pretty accurate. So I sold $1,900 worth. Well, from what I've sold and fees, it came out to around $1,900. So $2,000 I brought in for TCGPlayer, pretty much. And then of product, it was around $1,600. So of card value, $1,670, right? So out of the $1,669 that I actually sold, total fees were about $555 of it. So when you take 1,600, you subtract from 1,900, all the fees, right, you get to what I'm actually getting paid. And the shipping was the biggest expense from the fees. 246, half of all the fees was from shipping. Then you get taxes and some other TCGPlayer fees, right? So shipping definitely is the most. There was this time around, refunded orders was a bit higher than usual, and I think it's because of that one issue that I mentioned before with that TCGPlayer Direct glitch where it sold the card for $26 when it was only worth $3, and then my usual refunds. So I think that's a little bit higher. So net profit out of selling for a TCGPlayer for the whole month of April was $1,300. That's like 300 or so, a little bit more than $300 or so a week. Wow. Not worth it. You see where I get not worth it from? However, my caveats still stay. The reason I'm doing this experiment is because I could have just looked up whether it's worth it or not, right? But there are unquantifiable, there are factors that you can't just look up, that you have to do your own. And that is what happens when you have more inventory, when you change the different price for all your cards. So I've seen this number increased from last month, which is good. That right there is why I'm still going. This number is increasing. So the more cards I've put in, obviously the more I'm going to sell, the more chances of someone wanting something, right? Now, that also, it gets affected with what you're listing that as. And I'm listing right now higher than when I started and last month as well. So that's going to affect things. So I'm curious as to what would happen if I drop. I would know I would have more orders if I dropped the price of all my cards. Right now it's 20 cents. If I went down to 15, I had a lot more orders. But what I'm going to do is try to get to the 100,000 card threshold and then slowly drop my cards from 20-cent minimum to like 19 cents. And these are the lowest of the lowest. I'm starting to focus more on ultra rares, dollar cards, and more valuable cards, which that's a different thing. But out of the 32,000 cards that I've listed so far, by the way, someone asked me what the store is, and I've never mentioned it on here. It's Pokegamble YT. And that's because my YouTube name used to be Pokegamble. Anyways, that sums a little bit about a couple things. I appreciate if you guys drop a like if you like this video. Subscribe if you haven't. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.